Germany is facing a social and political storm. As Germany is preparing for deep social spending cuts, it commits to continue funding the proxy war against Russia in Ukraine. Several days ago, Chancellor Friedrich Merz issued a statement that could redefine Germany's post-war social contract. Speaking at a state-level conference of the Christian Democratic Union, Merz declared, and I quote, "The welfare state," he said, "that we have today can no longer be financed with what we produce in the economy." The coalition delayed announcing these social spending cuts because they wanted to secure public approval for rearmament first. Billions are being spent on defense while welfare benefits are quietly being placed on the chopping block. There you have it, plain and simple. No need to pretend, says Merz, that the economy will recover. We know that it won't. And now get ready to tighten your belts because waging a proxy war on Russia is far more important than your well-being. Just make sure that you keep paying your taxes, says Merz.
I have two messages. The one goes to Moscow and to President Putin. The message is quite simple. We will not give up.
This is more than a warning, of course. This is a policy shift, and the consequences will be felt across every single household in the country, in Germany. The German welfare system, long seen as one of the most robust in Europe, is heading toward radical change. What Merz announced was not just a call for reform, it was the opening salvo, if you will, in a deeper economic and ideological conflict within the ruling coalition. He's not asking for your input, he's not asking for your permission, he's telling you what to expect, and he's telling you what his priorities are. Just 2 days after Merz made that announcement, Germany's finance minister actually made a surprise visit to Zelensky in Kiev to pledge unwavering financial and military support to Zelensky's regime. We'll talk about that in just a second. So let's unpack what's happening. Germany's social insurance system, covering pensions, unemployment, and healthcare too, is under enormous strain. It has been for several years. Inflation is up, contributions from workers are down, and the federal budget is being eaten alive, quite literally, by rising expenditures, military commitments, and a sluggish economy. In 2023, statutory health insurance providers reported a 1.9 billion euro deficit. Just a year later, in 2024, the deficit actually ballooned to 6.2 billion euros. And by the end of 2025, estimates suggest that the gap could reach as high as 27 billion euros. Health insurance contributions that were once manageable for workers are now actually biting deeper into workers' paychecks. The additional contribution rate surged from 1.7% to 2.5%, and in some cases, it exceeds 4%. Meanwhile, wage increases are falling behind inflation, leaving workers effectively poorer despite nominal raises. But it doesn't stop there. Germany's pension system is also running dry. After surpluses in recent years, the system reported a 2 billion euro deficit in 2024, and this year it is expected to hit 7 billion euros. And by 2027, in case you're wondering, reserves could be entirely gone. That's right, by 2027, reserves could be entirely gone. Merz has made it quite clear. The federal government will not plug these deficits with tax increases, especially not on mid-sized companies. He also ruled out any increases in income tax under his leadership. But not everyone in the government agrees with Merz. Vice Chancellor Lars Klingbeil of the SPD has suggested that tax hikes on higher earners might still be on the table. The fault lines are growing and the political pressure is escalating. The SPD, which traditionally has been the defender of Germany's welfare state, is now trapped in a very difficult situation. SPD youth leader Philipp Termer said that if the idea behind reforms is just to cut benefits, then the SPD cannot give an inch. And yet, even the SPD is calling for changes. That's how bad it is. Kleinbail insists that reforms are indeed necessary, and he calls for, quote, imaginative solutions, whatever that is, not just austerity. The problem is that imaginative solutions don't pay the bills. And with the military budget swelling due to Germany's commitments to NATO and Germany's support for Zelensky's regime, social welfare is, of course, taking a back seat, as one would expect. So what exactly is changing now that Merz made that announcement? Well, starting this fall, the federal government plans massive cuts to pensions, to healthcare, and long-term care. The citizens' income, which is of course designed to support low-income and unemployed Germans, it is set to be downgraded to basic security with significant cuts to housing and heating support. The government spent 40 billion euros on these benefits back in 2024, and that number is going to be slashed in 2025. Even pensioners are not safe anymore. Over 10 million pensioners in Germany now receive less than 1,100 euros per month, which is below the poverty line. 1 in 5 Germans over 65 years old is at risk of poverty. Still, no new taxes on the rich, no wealth tax, no property levy, and instead, the government is floating this bizarre idea of baby boomer solidarity surcharge. Pensioners who manage to save through private retirement plans would see their benefits cut. You know why? Because that would be needed to support those who didn't save anything. The message is very clear. The state's mismanagement is now the people's problem. It is the good old privatized gains and socialized losses. This is an excellent example of this approach. It is happening right in front of our eyes. But the government isn't backing down. Just one day after Merz made that announcement about upcoming social spending cuts, Vice Chancellor Kleinbail traveled to Kiev to meet with Zelensky, and it was actually an unannounced visit where he reaffirmed Germany's unwavering support for Zelensky. The message was very clear. Military commitments come first, no matter the domestic cost. So what comes next? What happens to Europe? Well, that remains to be seen. That, of course, depends on the people. Protests, strikes, and political realignment may just be over the horizon. Germany is at a crossroads. A nation that built its post-war identity around a social market economy now faces a future of austerity, inequality, and quite arguably unrest. One thing is very certain. This is not just a budgetary crisis. It is a crisis of values. It is a crisis of direction. And also, it is a clear example of the government subservience to the military-industrial complex. I would love to hear your thoughts if you are in Germany. If my subscribers who are in Germany would love to comment and share their thoughts and experiences, please do so. We would love to hear from you in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this quick breakdown helpful and interesting, make sure that you follow me on Substack and Patreon. I would love to see you there. And hit like and subscribe here on YouTube to stay connected. Thanks so much, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Take care.